Alrighty. The First Amendment in the Constitution of the United States of America, 1789.
Congress shall make no law
respecting an establishment of religion
or prohibiting
the free exercise thereof,
or abridging the freedom of speech
or the right of the people
peaceably to assemble
and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
The First Amendment is what allows me as a journalist to do my job, knowing that the government isn't going to come in here and say, we don't like that story, you can't do it, you can't publish it.
Somebody like me became an elected official, was elected to the council because of those types of freedoms, and especially the First Amendment. I went out there, knocked on doors, expressed my views, and nobody could stop me, regardless of who I ran against or what I did, but because it was protected speech, and I was able to say what the differences are between myself and my opponents at the time, and we were successful because of that. But it was protected, my speech, and being able to do that, and that's something that I think it's sacred, and that's why.
As a journalist, but more specifically a student journalist, it's hard. Like, you go out there and you tell people, hey, I'm a student journalist, I'm doing this story, I want to interview you. They'll be like, no, you're just a student journalist, right? And just in general, sometimes people don't like talking to the press. They're not comfortable talking on camera like you and me, maybe. But it's something that needs to be done.
If you look at public polling, people's faith in the media has eroded. They see, some people see it as bias, some obviously don't. We get tons of support from readers who know how important what we do is. But I do think as journalists, we need to do a better job explaining what we do, how we verify our stories, and what our value is to a free society.
Recently we've been seeing it on attack for us. Like, I was at a rally in 2016 during the election cycle for President Trump, and I was approached in the press pool by this elderly man who told me that I had no rights since I was a journalist, and that I should be praising the president, and that I should stop being fake news, and it's just very offensive. But we need the First Amendment to protect us.
We're not like a bunch of people hiding around the corners waiting to say, gotcha, we caught you doing something bad. Sure, we're supposed to create we create a check and a balance for the government, and we are supposed to report when they do things that are bad, but we also have a public service mission. We want to give people good, important, crucial info in times of need, times of danger, and emergencies.
Many people around the country, including myself, and many of colleagues are deeply alarmed by your response to the President Trump's threats against the media, and specifically his tweet threatening NBC. In 2014, you wrote in the Wall Street Journal that the government has no place pressuring media organizations into covering certain stories. You took 6 days to respond to the president's tweet, and when you did not directly address the president's threat at all or its chilling effects on the media. While the president and the administration can dispute the veracity of any story, even ones that are demonstrably true, they cannot attack the free institutions that enable our democracy.
The day that Fidel Castro passed away, I remember Chris, my president, went to the press conference of Ileana Ross Layton and Carlos Curbelo. And when they got there, they were like, no, you guys can't come in here because you're not real journalists. And Roxanne Vargas from NBC6 was there. She was like, first of all, they are real journalists, and they're protected under the First Amendment right just like us. And they let them in, and they got to go to the press conference.
Watching, I sort of believe in the old school approach for journalism, right? Where it's an unbiased approach, regardless if you're a Republican or Democrat, you're there to report the news, not report your personal opinion. And that's why I always tell reporters, and in a very nice way, look, your profession is the only one that's explicitly protected by the First Amendment. Our founders believed in that, so it has to be almost pure. You have to, and as a journalist, you have to believe in that. But I guess in our current 24/7 news cycle that we have, everybody wants to have a story, and regardless of one side or the other. And so you're starting to see that where I can't accuse reporters or anybody of anything, but we have to take it serious on both sides.
In Telemundo, for example, we have our mantra is las cosas como son, things as they are. And so you'll probably watch things on Noticias Telemundo that you disagree with, and that's a good thing. And you'll probably watch things that you'll agree with, and that's a good thing.
Question, I think that it's not politicians or the government. I don't think it's their fault. I think it's our very own, because we so focus on, okay, I'm right. That's exactly what I'm getting affirmation that I am correct, and that's it. And when we hear someone else disagree with us, la 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 la, we don't want to hear it. And that's the problem nowadays. We can't agree to disagree. If we disagree with somebody, we unfollow them on Facebook, block them on Twitter, and it's just not healthy for our democracy.
So I firmly believe in the First Amendment and in the Constitution, and I will speak up to defend the right of someone who has a point of view that I may find abhorrent, because they're entitled to speak their mind.
As a journalist perspective, even though I may not agree with what they're doing, they're abiding by their First Amendment. They're not killing anybody, they're not shooting anybody, and it bothers the mess out of me when I see that they're being very disrespectful. But hey, what are they doing that's against the law?
Regardless of what the implications are, regardless of who looks bad, who might lose their job, who might suffer political consequences. None of that is supposed to be important to me, and it's not, because I have that protection of having the right to report the truth no matter what it says.